Welcome to Mrs. V's Reading Corner, where you can enjoy books for educational, fun, or even bedtime stories. Please take the time to like this video, comment below with how you enjoyed it, book suggestions, and more. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to get all the new books that I post first. The Man Who Invented Basketball, James Naismith and His Amazing Game, by Edwin Brit Wyckoff. Tough love and a tough life. Winter in Canada can be very hard. Icy wind sweeps down from the north. Rivers freeze solid. Crossing them can be scary and dangerous. James Naismith turned 11 in 1872. He was old enough to know where the river near his home became safe, solid ice. But he took a shortcut he had never tried before. His team of horses pulled his wagon onto the frozen river. Their feet pounded the ice. Then one heavy hoof slammed through the sheet of ice. James jumped off the wagon and landed in the water. Grabbing the horses by their reins, he pulled hard. Slowly, he forced them to the other side of the river. James looked around. He saw his uncle, Peter Young, watching him from behind some trees. But his uncle had not helped him. Uncle Peter wanted James to learn to solve problems by himself and not to take foolish chances. It was a tough lesson. James was born on November 6, 1861, near Aloud, Ontario, which is in Canada. When he was almost 9, his father, John Naismith, came down with deadly typhoid fever. So they would not catch the disease, James, his sister Annie, and brother Robbie were taken to their grandmother's home. A few days later, their father died. 2 weeks later, their mother Margaret died of the same disease. A short time later, their grandmother Annie Young died of old age. That left Uncle Peter to take care of the children in Benny's Corners, near Almonte. The village had a schoolhouse, a blacksmith shop, a store, and lots of other kids to play with. The children had lots of fun with very little money. When James needed ice skates, he made them. Then he raced out into the frozen swimming hole like a champion skater. The best game in town was called Duck on a Rock. One player, the guard, would put a rock about the size of his fist on top of a great big rock near the blacksmith shop. The other boys threw stones at the duck to knock it off the big rock. If they missed, they had to pick up their stones before the guard could tag them. It sounds easy, but it is not. The pitch could be soft, but it had to be perfectly aimed. When a player missed the duck, there was a lot of running, shouting, and laughing. James would remember Duck on a Rock years later when it would be very important to him. The Dropout. James was great at sports. He also worked hard on the family farm. He did not work hard at school though, and his grades were never very good. He wanted to grow up fast and be a man with a job. When he was 15, he left school and worked as a lumberjack. He cut down trees for almost 5 years. Then he decided to change his life. James had a plan. He wanted to go back to high school and finish fast. His next step would be college. In 1883, James entered McGill University in Montreal, Canada. When James was home for a visit, his brother Robbie had a terrible pain in his side. They all thought it was just a stomach ache. It was actually a very bad infection. Robbie died a few hours later. A doctor could have helped him. Knowing Robbie might have been saved staying in James' mind every day of his life. James graduated from McGill University after studying Hebrew and philosophy. Hebrew is an ancient language that many ministers study. Philosophy teaches people to think about life. James had a lot to think about. The minister plays hardball. For James, the next step was studying to become a minister at McGill's Presbyterian College. There was much to learn, and he studied day and night. His friends tried to get him to play sports. They told him it would sharpen his mind and toughen up his body. He said no and kept on studying. One day, his strong friends dragged him out to the football field. James had so much fun that from then on, he found time to study hard and play hard too. He was smaller than the other players, but he was powerful and smart. He learned rugby, which is a very rough game. He loved lacrosse, which can be even rougher. One Saturday, James got 2 black eyes in a wild game of lacrosse. The next day was Sunday, and he had to give a sermon in the church. James, the student minister, looked out from behind those 2 black eyes. He may have looked kind of funny, but he finished the sermon he had written. In 1890, James became a Presbyterian minister, but he did not want to give sermons in a church. He thought he could help teens live better lives if he talked to them while teaching them sports. His first sports job was at the International YMCA Training School, which is now Springfield College. So he moved from Canada to Springfield, Massachusetts in the United States. As a student teacher, James was very good at the job of teaching baseball, field hockey, football, and rugby, which are great games during spring, summer, and fall. Winter was a problem. The men had to come indoors and exercise, which was not much fun. They were so bored that some of them wanted to quit the YMCA training school. James was told to invent an exciting indoor game. It had to be ready in 2 weeks. That was the deadline. Inventing fun. James struggled with the problem for 12 days. The game had to be fast and fun. It could not be risky like football or rugby, with teams of men banging into the gym walls. That good old game from his childhood, duck on a rock, flashed into his head. He remembered how using a soft pitch was the best way to aim for the duck. James' eyes lit up. He shouted out loud, "I've got it!" There was no time to invent new gear. 2 peach baskets were used as goals. James explained the strange rules. 2 teams of men dragged themselves onto the gym floor, grumbling. They took a soccer ball and started playing. The grumbling soon stopped. Cheers and shouts filled the gym. The date was December 21st, 1891. Basketball was born. Soon teams formed in gyms all around town. In schools across the United States, students began to play basketball. Women began playing too. A young woman named Maud Sherman was one of the first women's team. James and Maud soon became friends and then fell in love. They married on June 20th, 1894. James and Maud would have 5 children together. In a few years, basketball started being played more like it is played today. The peach baskets had changed to rope baskets. Backboards were added. Dribbling became popular because players were not allowed to hold the ball very long without throwing it. When the ball bounced off the floor as a player raced down the court, it sounded like a fast drum beat. James thought dribbling was a great idea. In 1895, James and Maud moved to Denver, Colorado. There, James became director of physical education at the largest YMCA in the country. He was always working on his plan for the future. He remembered his brother dying horribly without help from a doctor. He had seen athletes have terrible accidents. He wanted to be a doctor and help people. There was no stopping James when he had a plan. He became a student at Gross Medical College in Denver. He would work all day at the YMCA and then study to be a doctor after work and on weekends. James graduated as a medical doctor in 1898. That year, he got the job of assistant physical director at the University of Kansas. By 1909, James was working there as a minister, a professor, and a medical doctor. James Naismith could have made lots of money by selling sports equipment. He could have used his fame to pose for ads selling products. He refused the offers. He just wanted to do his job as a teacher, minister, and a sports doctor. The end.